learn from each other, learn from the people around you, take in that knowledge, utilize that knowledge. It has been very beautiful to see because, as I said, it's one of those things of maturing and just becoming a bigger, better, well-rounded person. And it's just how you attack things. You're more intrigued by the business side of things and how things work, and not just music alone. It's just in life. You've been able to change perspective and realize that, oh yes, things may be simple, but there's so much more that goes into making things look simple. You know, the way people say, oh yeah, you drive a car and a car just feels beautiful and whatnot, but when you go to the factory, there's so much that goes into making that car that not many people know, and getting to learn those things really makes you appreciate a lot of things. And I think I've seen that with you, you know, and it's been a beautiful transformation to see. Actually, it's been a beautiful period of maturity that I've gotten to experience, not even change, as I said, you know.
I think the thing I can say for sure, you've softened, or I feel that I now have access to a softer version of you, not because you were hostile before, but now even down to your gaze, I feel that I can see more layers of you, and you also communicate your feelings more, which is nice.
I think maybe there have been changes to who you are as a person, and I believe that's because of how you grow. And just generally in life, like a tree doesn't stay a seedling that was planted years ago. It has to grow, it has to shed off its leaves to grow new leaves, going through the seasons just like that. I have noticed you change. I mean, you've gone from being one of the most poorly dressed artists I know, I'm sorry, to one of my favorite people to look at when you're outside and I have no involvement anymore in this. And, just changing your style and diversifying in it and exploring through jewelry now with your piercings, and then how, stylistically this also applies to your music. I think there's also just like pros and cons to this, because sometimes it feels like there is almost a clinging to the past version of you, but then there's an appreciation of this current version of you, and knowing fully well that a future version of you who's like, possibly married and with kids is also going to be different from who you are now. And I guess being someone who holds space for you in these moments is able to accommodate all versions of you and see how you grow through life as different challenges come your way and as different opportunities and losses befall you. We're not manifesting losses here, we're manifesting lessons, you know what I mean? Yeah.
How do I think you've adapted to new environments or situations? I think differently. I think you have processed things like trauma differently. You have processed things like growth differently. You've processed good things and bad things differently. So I think you're handling things well, relatively, all things considered. Obviously, there are things that you could do better. Obviously, there are things that you're doing super, super excellently. I'm not trying to be too vague about this, but I think generally speaking, your approach to new environments or situations is normally along the lines of, I'm gonna find out how this place works and participate in it accordingly. I've never known you to be the kind of person who goes into a space and imposes and tries to terraform the place. I think you kind of find a way to fit into the space without fitting into the space without necessarily changing too much, such that you become a reflection of the space you're in. Although that generally tends to happen when you spend time in certain spaces, but I do think the adaptation for me is whenever you're in a new situation, you tend to just figure out how the new environment kind of works, and then do what you can to be a part of it.
I think that the entirety of our friendship, you've always been a very adaptive person. It doesn't matter where you are or who you are with. You pima the vibes, the people, and then you find where you fit in best, which is really great. It's really great. I have yet to see you out of your element.
I think I answered this in the previous one, sorry. But I think you're now able to, I don't want to say change your personality, but you're able to, how do I put it? You're able to find ways in order to switch from someone who's introverted into someone who is extroverted. And so, like, it may present that way to people when they see you in your extroverted moments. They may think, oh, Mali is extroverted. But truly, you've just been able to learn how to switch on that side of your personality. And that's not necessarily you in your default settings.
I think generally, you try not to have very high expectations of new people or new situations in case they aren't met. You kind of move with an expect the worst and hope for the best mantra. And I guess that works for you because whether something goes right or not, you've conditioned yourself to be okay with it, as okay as possible at least. But it does help for you to garner some wins here and there from new situations so that whatever hope you have can feel more tangible. And usually if a situation or an opportunity that's new doesn't go right, at first you do the human thing to do, which is to take a minute to just cheesy. You kind of have like a polite existential crisis, but you're pretty good at self-regulating and collecting yourself and adjusting according to the situation. So what I've seen is you'll make yourself laugh, remind yourself that it's not the end of the world and that your autobiography would be great. And sometimes you tell the people around you about the situation and you'll get advice, but you'll pick out what you feel would help you the most and you change strategies and you keep it pushing. So yeah, generally I think you're really good at self-regulating, and I don't think I've seen a hurdle or environment that you haven't been able to maneuver at the end of the day.
I think generally it's just being very proactive and solution-oriented. You are quick to think, slow to speak and act, especially when it's in moments that require your thinking to do the deed first so that you can be strategic about that. And I believe that now you're less gullible as well. CC, the man who wanted to I don't know you know the man I'm talking about with the 50 bob in the carton. My god, iconic. I believe that you're much smarter and much more precise and strategic in how you handle things, both as a musician and just as a person in general.
Do I think you're melodramatic? To be honest with you, I don't think you are. I think melodramatic people generally take situations and make them a lot more serious than they are. They take things a lot more serious than they are. They tend to find and insist upon seriousness within situations that may not necessarily be there. So for example, if we had a conversation, the kind of guy to be like, were they subliminally talking about me? I don't necessarily think you're like that. I think there's times when you are melodramatic, but I don't think enough that would be a character trait, So I personally don't think you are melodramatic. I think if those are melodramatic scale from like 1 to 10, I'd put you at like a solid 3. That's what I think. Yeah.
Simply because I see you gaslighting yourself, 100% you are melodramatic. Otherwise, you are a very measured and a mature and rational individual.
You can present as melodramatic, especially when you're angry. So, yeah, but I wouldn't say you're generally melodramatic. I hope that's good.
Is Marley melodramatic? I do not think so. In the beginning, interacting with you, as I said, I don't think I'd understood you and gotten to know you perfectly. And so most of the times you may say that, oh yeah, this emotion or this reaction is probably over-exaggerated. But then once you get to know someone and you get to understand them, you begin to appreciate and realize the fact that it's not an over-exaggeration of emotion. It's how they express themselves. And in as long as it's not over the top and, you know, you're just flinging tables across the room and, you know, all of those things, it's you expressing yourself in the best way that you know how to, is how I'd describe it. So melodramatic, I don't think so. Maybe in the past life when I didn't know you, that would have been it. But, you know, as brother to brother, I don't think so, man.
Borderline, but not really. I'm gonna go with a no. I'm gonna say you're very in touch with your emotions. Like, you're very in touch with your emotions, very in touch with yourself and your thoughts. And on some days, it comes out more strongly than others. But to go all the way to say that you're melodramatic, no, not really. Yeah.
Would I say you're melodramatic? Heavy on the drama. Yeah, heavy on the drama. And that comes from the reigning drama queen. That's a lot.